Finally, I don't have to see you anymore. You've been living here without paying, but now it's time for you to go. We've put up with your freeloading for too long. Okay, I get it. I'll go. Thanks for everything. I packed my things fast and left the house where I've been living with my in-laws. I saw my mother-in-law smiling happily as I left. I chuckled to myself, putting on a sad face, but I knew what was coming for this house next. Hi, I'm Emily, 32 years old, and I work from home. I've been married to John for 5 years. We were happy together, but things changed in our 4th year of marriage. Suddenly, my father-in-law got sick, and we had to move in with my in-laws to take care of him. We thought it would only be temporary, but John's the only child, so we ended up staying longer to help out. I even thought about quitting my job to take care of him. Luckily, I could keep working from home. Living with my in-laws was chaotic at first, but then came some issues, especially with my mother-in-law. Emily, when are you going to start doing some housework? Get cleaning and cook dinner already. I'm not just lazing around, mother-in-law. What are you talking about? You're always on that computer surfing the web. You must be goofing off instead of doing work. The idea that using a computer means wasting time is old-fashioned. I got special permission to work from home. I didn't want to waste the skills I've worked hard to get, so I balanced my job with taking care of the house and my father-in-law. It felt good when, after about 3 months of hard work, I managed to earn as much as before. I had to work extra hard because it was tough to manage on just John's income. I'm glad we'll finally have some extra money, I thought, but things got harder. For some reason, it seemed like our savings were just going down. When I checked our spending, I realized John was spending a lot, and I found out my mother-in-law was spending a lot too. John has always liked to show off, often treating his coworkers to lunch, but lately he's been using our credit card to throw big parties for them. Obviously, if you spend more than you earn, your savings will go down. As for my mother-in-law, she's picked up a bunch of expensive hobbies with her friends, spending money on classes and socializing without thinking twice. With both John and my mother-in-law piling chores and caregiving on me while spending recklessly, I reached my limit. I was covering all our expenses with my income and couldn't even think about saving money. It stressed me out, so I decided to talk to them. John, Mom, you've been spending a lot lately. We're going to run out of savings if we keep this up. Can you please cut back on spending? But they both pushed back strongly. You think I want my coworkers to see me as cheap? I have to treat them sometimes. It's okay to not always be the one treating, and they won't think you're cheap if you're not always throwing parties. I have to be considerate at work too, you know. It's one thing to treat your coworkers to lunch, but taking them to a bar on your tab? How does that have anything to do with work? You're just doing it for fun, right? And don't pretend you don't know. You come home drunk and brag about it. You're having way more fun than talking to your own mom. You see what I mean, right? Haha. I go to my classes too, to have fun with my friends. Are you saying I should just stay home? You're not being a good wife. You who only know how to do housework have no right to tell me what to do. Why is she acting so superior when all she does is stay at home? I work too, you know. I earn money and help with the household. I'm also taking care of your dad, not just doing chores. Stop lying. My mom takes care of Dad. And since you're not even going to the office, you're not making much, are you? Who do you think you are, acting all superior just because you work part-time? I was stunned, speechless. It seemed like they didn't understand that I was really working, taking care of the house and my father-in-law, all while earning money. And my mother-in-law seemed to have told John that she was the one looking after my father-in-law, making me seem lazy. I thought about leaving many times, but I stay for my father-in-law. He's always been kind to me since I married John, always saying, Emily, I'm sorry you have to put up with so much. I don't mind taking care of you. What are you talking about? I feel bad needing care, but I feel worse about how your son and wife are treating you. They're taking advantage of you, aren't they? Well, yes, we couldn't make ends meet with just John's income. It's all thanks to your hard work that we're getting by. My father-in-law had known about our household situation all along. Whenever he needed care, he thanked me and spoke kindly to me. I loved him dearly, so taking care of him wasn't a burden at all. But I worried about what would happen to him if I left, so I decided to look after him diligently until he passed away, which happened about a year later. At his funeral, I cried the whole time, grieving deeply for him. But my mother-in-law, without shedding a tear, coldly asked me why I was crying so much. It was clear she wasn't grieving like I was, so I replied, "My father-in-law has passed away. Of course I'm sad. I've been taking care of him all this time." Upon hearing my reply, my mother-in-law exploded with anger, as if I didn't take care of my husband at all. But the truth was, she hardly took care of him. Instead, she took advantage of me, avoiding both housework and caregiving by claiming she was too busy with her hobbies. Yet, she always managed to find time to go out. She played the victim, pretending to cry in front of relatives. From the outside, it looked like I was the bad daughter-in-law. People would say, "Stop being so hard on your mother-in-law." Some even took her side and blamed me. I was just grieving my father-in-law's death. But even strangers blamed me, which made me furious. I chose to distance myself from our relatives. Then John noticed me and approached to complain, "So you embarrassed my mom in front of our relatives, huh?" What? I don't understand. I was just crying and grieving your dad's death. I defended myself. Then your mom came out to me making snide comments. That's all I heard. You were talking like she did nothing for my dad. I didn't say that. I was just saying how sad I was that your dad, who I had been taking care of, passed away. Maybe it sounded like I was blaming your mom because she didn't do anything. But in reality, are you looking down on my mom? No, I'm just telling the truth. And if you're so upset, you should have helped me out, don't you think? You could have taken better care of your own dad. Why are you blaming me too? I'm not involved in this. You're his son. Didn't you feel any responsibility to take care of him? I had work. It was your job as a housewife to take care of him. That's not fair. I have work too, so that doesn't make sense. Our argument got heated and panicked relatives intervened to break it up. Though the argument stopped, my husband and I didn't speak for the rest of the day. Later, after handling all the funeral arrangements, a lawyer talked about the inheritance. I'd like to discuss the will regarding the inheritance after your father-in-law's passing. It states that the family home and land will be given to his son John, while the remaining assets will be split equally between his wife and daughter-in-law, Emily. What? Why would Emily get a share? I'm his wife. Shouldn't everything else be mine if John gets the house and land? Your husband wanted to acknowledge Emily's dedication to this care. He wished to leave her a portion of the inheritance as a gesture of gratitude. This was his decision and it cannot be changed. Ah, I understand now. So Emily was just looking after him for the inheritance. Why would you think that? It must be why. Else, why would she dedicate herself to caregiving? I had a good relationship with my father-in-law ever since we got married. I took care of him to repay his kindness. If you think it's impossible, why did you push the caregiving onto me, mother-in-law? Why would you belittle me like that? Don't talk nonsense. I understand now, so let's just leave it at that. When the lawyer was there, my mother-in-law couldn't say anything rude, so she kept talking, looking annoyed. He made that decision. Well, I suppose it's a way of saying thank you for taking care of him. There's no other explanation. Then the lawyer kept talking. Can I go on? Your father-in-law wrote a note saying Emily doesn't have to look after him anymore. When the lawyer said that, my mother-in-law's face, which had been angry before, suddenly changed to a happy smile. I got it. I get what it means now. Oh, what do you mean? My husband looked confused by his mom's sudden excitement. It means Emily doesn't have to stay here anymore since she won't have to take care of my husband. The money split wasn't a thank you. It was just like a goodbye payment. My mother-in-law twisted my father-in-law's will based on her own ideas. She misunderstood it the way my father-in-law, and I wanted her to misunderstand it. Actually, before my father-in-law passed away, we talked about this. He wanted me to be free from this house after he died. He planned to trick my husband and mother-in-law with the will so I could leave without any fuss. Just as my father-in-law planned, my mother-in-law, totally fooled, is trying to get rid of me. While in my true feelings, I acted shocked by the will, saying, "Oh, father, why would you do such a thing? See, even my husband doesn't see you as his precious daughter-in-law, John. You don't need Emily anymore, right? Just divorce her already, John. You wouldn't suggest divorce, would you?" I looked at John with tears in my eyes. After a long pause, he finally said, "Yeah, it seems like the best choice. I've got the family property and Mom got the money. I won't have to worry about taking care of anyone in the future, and I won't have any issues with Emily. What I understand, that's how it is. I'm sorry, but could you please leave?" "Okay, I guess I don't belong here anymore." Feeling just as hurt, I took a paper from my drawer and handed it to my husband. It was something I had picked up during a past argument, the divorce papers. Without hesitation, he signed them. "Finally, I don't have to deal with you, a freeloader who doesn't contribute. Leave. Consider yourself lucky I tolerated you for this long." "I understand. I'll go now." "Thank you for everything up until now," I said. "By the way, since the lawyer's here, I'd like to talk about. It's fine if there's no me for property division, right? I've already received enough from my father-in-law's inheritance. And, you know what, Emily? I've managed to support myself just fine. It would be greedy of me to ask for more." "Well, you have a point. Okay, got it. Please leave this house as soon as you can," John replied. I hurriedly packed my things and left the home where I had lived. My mother-in-law watched me go with a gleeful expression, unaware of what was to come in that house. After leaving my in-laws' house, I wasted no time in submitting the divorce papers to City Hall. When I arrived at the apartment I had rented ahead of time, I couldn't contain my excitement as I shouted in the spacious room, "Yes, I'm finally free." I couldn't help but let out a yell of joy. I was so willing to be liberated from the painful married life. I owe a huge debt of gratitude to my father-in-law who orchestrated my escape from that house. Since then, I've been enjoying a comfortable life on my own. While I had gotten used to working remotely at my in-laws' place, now that I've left, I have much more time to focus on my work. As a result, my income has increased, and I'm able to live a luxurious life without any disturbances. One day, I received a call from my ex-husband, John. "It's been a while. What made you call?" "Emily, please, we're struggling. Can you help us out?" "Is this a joke? Weren't you the ones who kicked me out? Even though we're earning the same, we're barely making ends meet. We can't keep living like this." "That sounds rough." I decided to lay it out straight. "Well, that's because my salary isn't supporting the household anymore." "What do you mean? Can't you see? You couldn't sustain your lifestyle just with your income, even though you were spending lavishly, and I couldn't afford our lifestyle on my own." "Nonsense. You've always been wasting your salary on yourself. The only reason we managed was because of the money I was bringing in. At your ages, your spending habits, both you and your mother, are just ridiculous." "So how much were you making, Emily?" "Let me think. It was around $4,800 a month back then." "I think you were making that much." "Yes, I was, but you never knew, did you? By the way, now that I'm not held back, I'm making even more." "Emily, what do you say we give living together another shot? Kicking you out was a mistake. We can start over, can't we?" "What are you saying? You're just interested in my money now." "It's not about that. I've realized I still love you, Emily." "Don't be ridiculous. I have no interest in going back to you. By the way, what about the inheritance your mother got? You should still have plenty left from that, right?" "Well, it's almost gone. There's no way she got around $100,000, right? You couldn't have spent it all so quickly. We went shopping and took trips overseas, plus we lost almost half of it in casinos. Both of you are beyond help. I'm speechless. I'm a stranger now. I can't do anything about it, and I don't want to. But don't say such cold things. Help us." "I don't care. I'm hanging up. Don't call me again." After ending the call, I promptly canceled my ex-husband's phone contract. I had no clue what happened to him and my ex-mother-in-law after losing all communication means. However, nearly a year later, as I passed by their house, I noticed it had been demolished. They must have had to let go of it due to financial troubles. Honestly, it wasn't my concern anymore. As for me, I decided to fill my newfound free time with a new hobby and started attending a wine class I'd been interested in. There, I met a man 2 years older than me who showed a keen interest in me. After a year and a half of dating, we tied the knot. He's a down-to-earth and kind-hearted man making waves at a prestigious company and earning a good salary. He respects my work, and we share a happy married life built on mutual respect. Lately, I've been pondering if this newfound happiness was a gift from my father-in-law.
We don't need all that legal paperwork, Emily. Just trust me, Marcus said, leaning casually against the kitchen counter. He acted like he hadn't just suggested moving his mistress into his new apartment while keeping me stuck in our marriage. You can stay here, and everyone wins. I gripped my coffee mug, letting its warmth steady me as I studied my husband of 8 years. He stood there, confident in his expensive new suit, one I probably helped pay for, thinking I'd go along with his little plan. My name is Emily. I'm 34, and I was watching my husband try to have it both ways. The irony wasn't lost on me that we were in the Victorian house my grandmother left me, the same grandmother who taught me about dignity and self-respect. So let me get this straight, I said calmly. You want to move in with Jessica, your 26-year-old assistant, but you don't want a legal divorce or financial settlement. Marcus grinned, mistaking my question for agreement. Exactly. No lawyers, no court drama. You keep the house, I get my freedom. It's perfect. I sipped my coffee, thinking about the legal document sitting upstairs, the one Marcus never read when my grandmother passed away. He was too busy with a very important deal to even attend her funeral. And what about our joint accounts, the investments we made together? I asked. He waved a hand dismissively. We'll figure that out later. Jessica and I found a great apartment and the lease starts next week. I just need to know you won't make this difficult. The morning light shone through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on the hardwood floor. My grandmother had restored those windows herself. I remembered cleaning them with her as she shared lessons on family, loyalty, and self-respect. You know, I said, rinsing my mug, Grandma Rose always said trust is earned, not given. Marcus rolled his eyes. Not everything has to be a lesson from your grandmother, Emily. This is about happiness. Jessica makes me happy. Can't you understand that? I dried my hands, thinking of the clause Grandma Rose had added to her will, the one she explained to me years ago with a knowing smile. Sometimes, dear, she had said, the best way to protect yourself is to let people think they're getting what they want. All right, I said, turning to face Marcus. No legal paperwork. No divorce. You can move in with Jessica next week. His face lit up. I knew you'd understand. This is why you're different from other women. So practical, so reasonable. He didn't notice the small smile on my lips. Marcus never was good at reading people, especially women. That's why he never understood my grandmother, and why he never bothered to read the details of the inheritance. I'll start packing tonight, he said, checking his expensive watch. Another thing I helped him afford. Oh, and don't worry about the joint account. I'll still cover my share of the house expenses. I nodded, watching him practically skip out of the kitchen, already texting Jessica about their victory. As his footsteps disappeared upstairs, I walked into my grandmother's old study, now my study. I opened the bottom drawer and pulled out the leather folder containing her will. On page 6 was the clause she had added, in her careful handwriting. If the spouse of the inheritor abandons the marriage without legal dissolution while maintaining financial ties, all joint assets shall be automatically frozen and placed in trust. I traced my fingers over her signature. Grandma Rose had seen through Marcus the first time she met him. She knew his type, charming, ambitious, always looking for an easy way out. That's why she had put this clause in place, along with several others Marcus was about to discover. Thanks, Grandma, I whispered, listening to Marcus hum as he packed. He had no idea what was coming. I picked up my phone and sent a quick email to Mr. Patterson, my grandmother's lawyer. It's time. Marcus is moving out Monday. Please proceed with Protocol R. His reply came within minutes. Everything is prepared, Emily. Your grandmother would be proud. I smiled, thinking about how shocked Marcus would be when he learned what keeping things simple really meant. From upstairs, I heard him laughing on the phone, probably with Jessica, celebrating his win. Let him laugh. Monday was coming. Monday arrived with the kind of crisp autumn air my grandmother had always loved. I sat in my study, watching through the window as Marcus loaded the last of his boxes into his BMW. He'd been cheerful all weekend, acting as if he were doing me a favor by leaving. I left my keys on the counter, he said, stepping back inside. I'll transfer my share of the house expenses tonight. See, we can be civil about this. I nodded. Of course. Have a good life, Marcus. He hesitated, maybe surprised by how calm I was. But then his phone buzzed, probably Jessica, and he gave me a quick wave before walking out, leaving behind 8 years of marriage without a second glance. I waited until this card disappeared before texting Mr. Patterson. He's gone. His reply came instantly. Excellent. Protocol R is now active. Give it about an hour. I made myself tea in my grandmother's old porcelain set and settled in to wait. The house felt peaceful, not empty. The clock on the wall, the one my grandmother had restored, ticked steadily, marking the minutes. 53 minutes later, my phone rang. Marcus's name flashed on the screen. Emily. His voice was panicked. Something's wrong with my cards. They're all being declined, even my ATM card. That's strange, I said, sipping my tea. Did you call the bank? I'm at the bank right now. They're saying all our joint accounts are frozen. Something about a trust? What did you do? I could hear the frustration in his voice, already blaming me instead of himself. Typical. I didn't do anything, Marcus. It's from Grandma Rose's will, the one you never read because you were too busy at the funeral. A long pause. What are you talking about? There's a clause in the inheritance, I explained. If a spouse leaves the marriage without a legal divorce but keeps financial ties, all joint assets are frozen and placed in a trust. Page 6, if you're curious. Silence. I could picture him standing in the bank, his face turning red as he realized what had happened. You can't be serious, he finally sputtered. That's not legal. It is. Grandma Rose had excellent lawyers. If you had paid attention to the estate meetings, you'd know that. She put this clause in place to prevent, well, exactly what you tried to do. But what about my apartment? Jessica's waiting for me. I need to pay the deposit today. I took another sip of tea. That's unfortunate. Maybe you should have thought of that before deciding to keep things simple without legal paperwork. Emily, be reasonable. His voice shifted to his usual smooth, persuasive tone. Maybe I was too hasty about moving out. We can talk. Actually, I interrupted, there's more. The only way to unfreeze the accounts is to either go through a legal divorce with proper asset division or sign an agreement to attend marriage counseling. I heard him suck in a sharp breath. Marcus hated therapy. He always said it was for weak people who couldn't fix their own problems. You planned this, he accused. You and your grandmother set me up. No, Marcus, you planned this. You wanted to move in with Jessica while keeping me financially tied to you. Grandma Rose just made sure there were consequences. In the background, I heard Jessica's voice asking what was wrong. The irony made me smile. He would now have to explain to his new girlfriend that his wife's grandmother had outsmarted him. This isn't over, he snapped. You're right, I said. It's not over until you either divorce me properly or agree to counseling. Your choice. Mr. Patterson has the paperwork ready for both. And Marcus, the longer you wait, the more the trust earns interest. Grandma was very thorough. I ended the call and walked to the window. The autumn leaves were turning gold and red, just like my grandmother had loved. Autumn shows us how beautiful it is to let things go, she used to say. My phone buzzed with a text from Mr. Patterson. Marcus just called. He's upset. Should I send him the full terms of the trust? I smiled. There were plenty more surprises waiting for Marcus in that document. Yes, I replied. I think it's time he learned what keeping things simple really means. Outside, the breeze carried a few leaves from the old maple tree my grandmother had planted years ago. Its roots were deep, just like her wisdom. Marcus was about to learn that some lessons come with a hefty price. 2 weeks later, I sat across from Marcus in Mr. Patterson's office. His hands shook as he signed the divorce papers. Gone was his expensive suit. He now wore wrinkled khakis and a faded polo. His hair was messy, and dark circles shadowed his eyes. The past 2 weeks had been rough for him. Without access to our joint accounts, he had to move back in with his parents. Jessica quickly lost interest when she realized their luxury apartment dreams were over. He also discovered another surprise. Most of his investments were tied to joint assets, which were now frozen under the trust. Initial here, Mr. Patterson pointed, and here. This confirms you agree to the asset division. Marcus clenched his jaw as he signed. The terms were fair, exactly what he would have gotten with a proper divorce from the start. But now he had no power, no secret funds, and no choice. You must be happy, he muttered, avoiding my eyes. You and your grandmother planned this all along. Actually, I said, Randall Rose thought better of you than you deserved. The trust had a reconciliation option. Counseling, remember. You chose this, just like you chose to miss her funeral for a business deal. Mr. Patterson cleared his throat. Everything is in order. Mrs. Walker, you'll keep the house and your personal accounts. Mr. Walker, your share of the assets will be transferred within 48 hours. As we stood to leave, Marcus lingered at the door. I don't understand, he said, confused. Why didn't you tell me about the clause when I first said I was moving out? I thought about all the times he ignored my grandmother's wisdom, skipped family dinners, and made me feel small for valuing tradition over his idea of success. Would you have listened? I asked. He had no answer. Walking out of the office, I felt lighter than I had in years. The crisp autumn air smelled of fallen leaves and new beginnings. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend, Anna. Done? Ready for that bottle of wine? Come over, I replied. I have a story to tell you. That evening in my grandmother's, my study, Anna and I toasted to fresh starts. I told her everything, Marcus's plan, the trust clause, and his downfall. Your grandmother was brilliant, Anna said, raising her glass. She protected you even after she was gone. I smiled, touching the leather folder that held her will. She understood people better than they understood themselves. She saw through Marcus from the start. What about Jessica? Anna asked. Did she really dump him over the apartment? I laughed. Yep. She didn't want to live with his parents while he sorted things out. Last I heard, she's dating one of the partners at his firm. Karma, Anna grinned, pouring more wine. Looking around the study, I felt my grandmother's presence. The room held her favorite books, old photographs, and pieces of a life well lived. She always said real wealth wasn't just money. It was wisdom, self-respect, and knowing when to stand your ground. You know what's funny? I said, running a finger along the spine of her favorite book. Marcus kept saying he wanted to keep things simple. In the end, that's exactly what happened, just not the way he planned. Anna raised her glass. To Grandma Rose, the queen of long-game revenge. Not revenge, I corrected, smiling. Justice. She always said there's a difference. Later that night, after Anna left, I sat in my grandmother's rocking chair by the window. The moonlight streamed through the stained glass, casting soft patterns on the floor. In my hands, I held the last letter she'd written me. My dearest Emily, it read. Strength isn't about never getting hurt. It's about knowing how to protect yourself. Some people will take advantage of your kindness. Let them think they're succeeding, right up until they learn their lesson. I folded the letter and looked at her portrait. Her eyes twinkled with that mix of wisdom and mischief. Thanks, Grandma, I whispered. For everything. Outside, the autumn wind rustled through the trees, carrying away the last traces of my life with Marcus. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new adventures. But tonight, I celebrated the wisdom of a woman who had known exactly what I would need, long before I did. Sometimes the best endings aren't about winning or losing. They're about knowing your worth and walking away from those who never saw it in the first place. Marcus yelled, slamming the divorce papers onto the kitchen table. You're being selfish. My mother is dying, and you won't even get tested to see if you're a match. I gripped the counter, trying to stay calm. I never thought my marriage would end like this, over my decision not to donate a kidney to my mother-in-law, Diana. Marcus, please try to understand. I started, but he cut me off. Understand what, Julia? That you're letting my mother die because you're too scared? Too selfish? His face was red with anger. She welcomed you into this family, and this is how you repay her. Welcomed me? I almost laughed. Diana had spent the last 8 years criticizing everything about me, my cooking, my job, even my marriage, but that wasn't why I couldn't donate. Sign the papers, he demanded. If you won't help my mother, I want nothing to do with you. My hands shook as I picked up the pen. I could tell him the truth right now, explain why I couldn't donate. But would it even matter? He had already chosen her over me, like always. Fine, I said quietly, signing my name. I hope you and Diana will be very happy together. He grabbed the papers and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. As soon as he was gone, I sank to the floor, finally letting the tears fall. My name is Julia Chen, and 3 months ago I was diagnosed with early-stage kidney cancer. The same day Diana found out she needed a transplant, I was scheduling my own surgery to remove a tumor. I hadn't told anyone, not even Marcus. We had been trying for a baby, and I knew the news would crush him. I planned to tell him after surgery, once I had more answers. But then Diana got sick, and suddenly, everything was about her. At Sunday dinner a few weeks ago, Diana had smiled sweetly. Julia, dear, you're young and healthy. Surely you'd be willing to help your mother-in-law? Marcus had immediately agreed. Of course she will, Mom. Julia knows how important family is. I nearly choked on my wine. Family? Diana had done everything she could to ruin our marriage. She even tried to set Marcus up with someone else last Christmas, right in front of me. Now, sitting on my kitchen floor, I picked up my phone and called my doctor. Hi, this is Julia Mitchell. Can we move my surgery up? My circumstances have changed. The next few days were a blur of packing and making arrangements. I took a leave from work, telling everyone it was for elective surgery. Marcus didn't come home. He was probably at his mother's, letting her turn him against me. His sister Emma, the only person in his family who had ever been kind to me, called me in tears. Julia, please reconsider. Mom is getting worse, and Marcus is falling apart. Just get tested, maybe you won't even be a match. I gripped the phone. Emma, I can't. I'm sorry, but there are things you don't know. She hesitated. What things? Julia, whatever Mom has done. It's not about her, I said. I can't. Please trust me. There was a long pause. You're hiding something, she said softly. I can hear it in your voice. I ended the call before I broke down. Emma had always defended me, but this was my health, my choice. I didn't owe anyone an explanation. The night before my surgery, Marcus showed up. He looked awful, unshaven, exhausted. Mom's doctor says she has maybe 6 months without a transplant, he said. This is her last chance, Julia. How can you be so heartless? I stood in the doorway, not letting him in. I'm not heartless, Marcus. I literally can't donate. Can't or won't. He snapped. Forget it. I just came to get the rest of my things. The divorce will be final in 3 months. As he walked past me, I caught the scent of his mother's perfume on his shirt. Of course, he'd been staying with her, letting her comfort him over his selfish wife. Part of me wanted to tell him everything about the cancer, the surgery, the fear I had been carrying alone. But the words wouldn't come. Let him think I was selfish. Let him leave. At least then, I wouldn't have to watch him put his mother first while I fought my own battle. My surgery was scheduled for tomorrow morning. The doctor was hopeful, but there were no guarantees. I would face this alone, just like I had faced everything else since Diana came into our lives. As Marcus carried boxes to his car, I wondered if he even noticed I was gone. Would he be too busy taking care of his mother to realize his soon-to-be ex-wife had disappeared for weeks of recovery? The last thing he picked up was our wedding album. He stared at it for a long moment before dropping it into the donation pile on the curb. Goodbye, Julia, he said coldly, not looking at me. I hope you can live with your choice. If only he knew. The hospital room was quiet except for the steady beep of monitors and the soft footsteps of nurses. 2 weeks had passed since my surgery, and now the pathology results were finally in. Dr. Peterson stood at the foot of my bed, flipping through my chart. The surgery was successful, Julia. We removed the tumor and the surrounding tissue. Your margins are clear, she smiled. But I still recommend targeted therapy just to make sure we've eliminated any remaining cancer cells. Relief flooded through me. How long will the treatment take? 6 to 8 weeks. You'll need to rest and focus on recovery. She hesitated. Have you thought about telling your family? Support is important during treatment. Family. The word felt empty now. Marcus hadn't reached out since he moved out. Emma had left messages, but I hadn't answered. How could I explain my absence without telling the full truth? I'll be fine on my own, I said. I've hired a home health nurse to help me recover. Just then, I heard a commotion outside. A familiar voice, Emma's, arguing with a nurse. I know she's here. I saw her name on the surgery schedule. Please, I need to see my sister-in-law. My stomach dropped. Emma worked in the medical field. Of course she might have seen my name. I should have used my maiden name. Before I could react, Emma burst into my room. She froze, taking in the IVs, my pale face, the hospital bed. Julia, her voice shook. Oh my God, what's wrong? Why are you in an oncology ward? Dr. Peterson glanced at me. I nodded, giving her permission to speak. There was no point hiding anymore. Mrs. Mitchell had a partial nephrectomy, Dr. Peterson explained gently. We removed a tumor from her kidney. Emma's hands flew to her mouth. Kidney cancer? But Mom needs a transplant, and you? Her eyes widened as she put the pieces together. You couldn't donate because you had cancer. Tears welled in my eyes. I found out the same day Deanna announced she needed a kidney. I was going to tell Marcus after my surgery, but everything happened so fast. Emma rushed to my bedside, carefully wrapping her arms around me. Why didn't you tell us? Why did you let Marcus think you were being selfish? I wiped my face with a tissue. Would it have mattered? He already chose Diana over me. If he knew I had cancer, he'd only feel guilty, and Diana would still make it about her. But he's divorcing you over this. He thinks you refused out of spite. Maybe that's easier, I said quietly. I couldn't be the donor he wanted. I couldn't be the perfect daughter-in-law Diana expected. At least this way, he doesn't have to feel responsible for me. Emma sat on the edge of my bed, struggling to take it all in. Julia, he needs to know. Mom needs to know. This changes everything. I shook my head. Diana still needs a kidney, and I still can't give her one. Nothing's changed except now you know why. But. Please, Emma, I interrupted. I'm starting treatment soon. I need to focus on getting better, not dealing with Marcus and Diana. Promise me you won't tell them. She hesitated, torn. Finally, she sighed. Fine. But I'm not leaving you to handle this alone. I'm staying to help whether you like it or not. True to her word, Emma was by my side for the next few weeks. She took time off work, drove me to appointments, made sure I ate properly, and sat with me during treatments. One afternoon, as we lounged in my living room watching movies, my phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. Mom's getting worse. The doctors say she needs the transplant soon. I hope you're happy with your decision. Emma glanced at the screen and snatched the phone from my hands. That's it, I'm telling him. No. I tried to grab it back, but the sudden movement sent pain through my side. I gasped, and Emma's anger softened. Look at you, she said gently. You're recovering from surgery, and he's making you feel guilty for something you physically can't do. This isn't fair, Julia. Life isn't fair, I said, thinking about everything that had led us here. But I made my choice. I need to deal with this on my own terms. Emma huffed. You and Marcus are both impossible. No wonder you got along so well. Despite everything, I laughed. It felt good to laugh, to have someone who understood. Later that night, after Emma left, I stared at the divorce papers on my coffee table. In less than a month, my marriage would be over. Marcus would be free to focus on his mother, never knowing how close he came to having two sick women in his life instead of one. I touched my healing incision, thinking about the road ahead. The cancer might be gone, but recovery would take time. Treatment would be tough. But somehow, I felt stronger than I had in years. I didn't need Marcus's guilt. I didn't need Diana's manipulation. I had Emma, my own resilience, and a future that, while uncertain, was still mine to face. The truth would come out eventually. Secrets like this always did. But when it did, I'd be ready. The truth came out sooner than I expected. 6 weeks into my treatment, I ran into Marcus at the hospital. I was leaving my oncologist's office when I saw him step out of the elevator, looking down at his phone. He walked right past me at first, then stopped suddenly and turned around. His eyes widened. Julia? I froze. I knew I looked different, thinner, paler, my hair not as full. I wore a loose sweater to hide the port in my chest, but there was no hiding the signs of illness. What are you? Why are you here? His gaze flicked to the sign. Oncology department. His face went pale. Before I could answer, Dr. Peterson stepped out of her office. Julia, don't forget your scan is at 9 a.m. tomorrow. We'll review the results next week to see how your treatment is working. Marcus took a step back like someone had hit him. Treatment? Julia, what's going on? I should go, I said, trying to walk past him. He gently caught my arm. Please, I need to understand. I looked at his hand, remembering how easily he let me go before. Now you want to understand? Not when you were divorcing me or calling me selfish. His voice was shaky. Emma told Mom everything yesterday about your cancer, your surgery, why you couldn't donate. I came here today because I needed to see if it was true. So Emma had told them. I should have known she wouldn't keep it a secret forever. Well, now you know, I said. You can go back to Diana with a clear conscience. Julia, wait. His eyes were full of tears. Why didn't you tell me? I'm your husband. Soon-to-be ex-husband, I corrected. And I didn't tell you because you already made your choice. You chose Diana. Like always. He ran a hand through his hair, something he always did when he was overwhelmed. I didn't know. All this time, I thought you were being selfish, but you were actually fighting cancer alone. Not alone, I said. Emma has been helping me. He let out a bitter laugh. Emma knew before I did. Your own husband. You gave up the right to know when you threw away our marriage over a kidney I couldn't give, I said firmly. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to rest before my scan. I walked away, leaving him standing there. But this time, I was the one choosing to leave. The next week brought changes I never expected. Diana was the first to reach out. She sent me a letter, written in her neat but shaky handwriting. Dear Julia, I owe you an apology, not just for demanding your kidney, but for how I've treated you all these years. Learning about your cancer made me realize how selfish I've been. I found another possible donor, so please focus on your recovery. You don't need to carry any guilt or pressure from us. With regret, Diana. Emma later confirmed it. She actually cried, Julia, she said, shaking her head. I've never seen her cry before. Meanwhile, Marcus stopped sending angry texts about Diana's health. Instead, he sent one short message. I'm sorry, please let me make this right. I didn't reply. I had 3 more weeks of treatment left and my health came first. But Marcus didn't give up. He started showing up at my treatment sessions, just sitting quietly in the waiting room. He never forced a conversation. He just waited, in case I wanted to talk. After my last treatment, he was there again. This time, I was too exhausted to ignore him. Why are you here, Marcus? He met my eyes. Because this is where I should have been all along. His voice was soft. I failed you, Julia. I failed our marriage. I was so focused on Mom that I didn't see you needed me too. I sighed and sat down beside him. It's not just about the cancer. It's about how you've always put Diana first. How I always felt like I had to handle everything alone. He nodded, his eyes full of regret. I know. Mom and I had a long talk after Emma told us everything. She admitted how she treated you, how she manipulated me. She's even getting counseling. Not that it excuses what I did. No, it doesn't. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he said quietly. I just want to be here for you now, in whatever way you'll let me. Even if it's just as a friend. I looked at him properly for the first time in months. He seemed different, quieter, more present than he had been in years. I have a scan next week, I said finally. They'll tell me if the treatment worked. He waited, saying nothing. You can come if you want, I said, but just to the waiting room. His smile was small but sincere. Thank you. That's more than I deserve. As I left the hospital that day, I felt lighter. Not because I'd forgiven Marcus. That would take time. Maybe it would never happen. But I had finally put myself first. The future was still uncertain. My marriage might be over, or it might heal. Diana might change, or she might not. The cancer might be gone, or it might return. But one thing was different now. I knew my worth. I wouldn't settle for less. Not from Marcus, not from Diana, not from anyone. Sometimes, losing everything is what it takes to truly find yourself. I stared at my phone screen, reading Daniel's message. I'm leaving you for Sofia. She's 23, beautiful, and everything you're not. Don't bother coming home. She's already moved in. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across my desk as I calmly reached for my coffee. At 35, I had just received the most heartless goodbye ever. But while Daniel probably pictured me crying over his betrayal, I was logging into my security app. The hidden cameras I'd installed 2 months ago came to life. There they were, Daniel and his new girlfriend, making themselves at home in my living room. She lounged in my favorite chair, legs draped over the side, while he packed away my photos. "Your wife has great taste in furniture," Sophia giggled, running her fingers over the fabric. "Too bad she has terrible taste in men." Daniel chuckled, tossing a photo frame into a box. "She never appreciated any of this. Always too busy working, too tired for date nights. You're different, baby." I watched them, my anger cold and steady. The cameras had captured everything for weeks, every lie, every secret meeting. But today's footage, this was the final nail in his coffin. Another text buzzed through. "I'll have my lawyer contact you. Don't expect anything in the divorce, my name's on everything. You should thank me for the years I gave you." I smiled, sipping my now cold coffee. Daniel always thought I was naive. He had no idea I'd been ahead of him all along. I had noticed the signs, the late nights, the password changes, the sudden interest in the gym. But it was the dinner receipt for two, on a night he claimed to be working, that pushed me to act. I hired a security company the next day. "Make them invisible," I told them as they installed cameras throughout the house. "I want to see everything." And I did. I watched him sneak her in, heard their whispered plans, saw them betray me over and over again. Then another message popped up. A picture of Sophia on our bed, wearing my jewelry. "She looks better in these than you ever did," Daniel wrote. I forwarded it to my lawyer, adding it to the growing file of evidence. Then I turned back to the live feed. "She's not even that pretty," Sophia scoffed, flipping through my old photos. Daniel snorted, holding up our wedding picture. I was young and stupid. Thought I needed to settle down. Biggest mistake of my life. He tossed it into the trash along with everything else from our 10 years together. But I didn't feel pain, just satisfaction. Every cruel word, every smug smile, all of it was recorded. Sophia stretched out on the couch. "Should we order dinner? We should celebrate our first night in our new home." Our new home. I smiled at her choice of words. They had no idea how wrong they were. The house had been my grandmother's, left to me in a trust Daniel knew nothing about. His name on the deed meant nothing, and soon he would learn that the hard way. I typed a reply to his earlier message. "Thanks for letting me know. I'll be sure to forward your text to my lawyer." His response was instant. "What lawyer? Don't try to play games, Olivia. You'll lose everything." I didn't bother replying. Instead, I sent the latest footage to my attorney. "This is perfect," she had told me weeks ago. "He won't know what hit him." I grabbed my things and walked out of my office. The real fun was about to begin. As I drove away, my phone buzzed one last time. "Don't bother coming home. I changed the locks." I laughed, picturing the hidden cameras still rolling. Let him think he'd won. Let him enjoy his moment. Soon, the truth would hit him like a ton of bricks, and I'd have a front row seat to watch it all unfold. The next morning, I watched through the security feed as Daniel strolled into the kitchen, making coffee in my favorite mug. He looked so at ease, so confident. I took a sip of my hotel coffee, waiting. Right on time, the doorbell rang. I zoomed in on his face as he opened the door to a courier. "Daniel Parker?" the man asked, handing him a thick envelope. Daniel signed, still smug, until he read the first page. His expression shifted from confusion to shock. "What is it, baby?" Sophia called from the kitchen, still draped in my silk robe. "It's from Olivia's lawyer," he mumbled, flipping through the pages. His face paled. "This can't be right." Sophia peered over his shoulder. "What's wrong?" "The house. It's not mine. It's in a trust, Olivia's trust. And she has evidence." Sophia stiffened. "Evidence of what?" Right then, my phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. "What kind of game are you playing?" I replied, "No game. Check your email." Through the cameras, I watched his hands shake as he opened it. Sarah had sent a short clip, a preview of the footage we had collected. "Is that us?" Sophia gasped, staring at the screen. "Have we been recorded?" Daniel turned red with anger. "You've been spying on me? In my own house?" I couldn't help but smile as I texted back, "Not your house, remember? And yes, Every word, every lie, every betrayal. It's all on camera. He started pacing, raking his hands through his hair. Sofia, once so confident, slumped onto the couch. She can't do this, she whispered. It's illegal or something, right? Actually, I typed, it's perfectly legal to have security cameras in my home, especially when I had reason to suspect theft. Daniel read the message out loud. Theft. The jewelry you gave her. The artwork. My grandmother's antiques that mysteriously vanished. All recorded. Sophia yanked off my necklace, setting it on the table with shaking hands. Daniel turned to her, his voice cold. I think you should leave. But you said. Get out, he snapped. Tears streamed down her face as she grabbed her things and rushed out. The fearless mistress, suddenly just a scared girl. Daniel sank onto the couch, staring at his phone. Another message came through. You ruined everything. I loved you, Olivia. Why did you have to do this? My anger flared. Loved me? Is that what you call moving your girlfriend into our home? Giving her my things? Mocking our marriage? I saw him read my message, his jaw tightening. He was trapped and he knew it. What do you want? He finally texted. You out of my house tonight. Take only your things. My lawyer will handle the rest. He sat there for a long moment, then started packing, his movements stiff with frustration. Every few minutes he would stop, glance around the room, then keep going, shoulders slumped. A new text from Sarah. He called his lawyer. They're advising him to settle. The footage is too damaging. I smiled. Daniel had always thought I was weak, that I wouldn't fight back. Instead, I had collected every piece of evidence while he blindly walked into his own downfall. By evening he took one last look around the house before leaving, his key resting on the counter, a silent admission of defeat. As his card disappeared, I sent one final message. Goodbye, Daniel. I hoped she was worth it. Then I blocked his number, closed the security app, and poured myself a glass of wine. Tomorrow, I take back my home. But tonight, I celebrated my freedom. Game over. And he never even knew he was playing. 1 month later, I sat in my freshly redecorated living room. Every trace of Daniel was gone, along with the weight of his betrayal. The divorce had gone quickly. Amazing how cooperative a cheating husband becomes when faced with video proof of his lies and stolen things. I kept the cameras running until everything was final, just in case. They caught Daniel sneaking back in one night, my lawyer handled it, and Sofia showing up a week later, demanding jewelry Daniel had given her. That footage also went straight to the authorities. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Daniel's company found out he was sleeping with an intern. Turns out you weren't the only one he lied to. He's been forced to resign. I smiled, not out of revenge, but because it felt right. The truth always catches up. That afternoon, the security company came to remove the cameras. As one of the workers uninstalled the hidden bookshelf camera, he said, We set these up all the time, but most people don't actually catch anything important. You were smart. You saw the signs and acted. I thought back to those first red flags, the late nights, the secretive behavior, the strange receipts. How many people ignored those signs, hoping they were wrong? The doorbell rang. I glanced at my new standard security camera and saw Lisa standing there with a bottle of wine. Coming, I called, letting her in. This place looks amazing, she said, admiring the changes. Gone were the heavy curtains Daniel had insisted on. Sunlight streamed through the sheer panels, shining on artwork I had picked myself. My grandmother's antiques, which I hidden away when I first suspected Daniel's plans, were finally back where they belonged. As we sat on the couch with our wine, Lisa asked, How are you really? I thought for a moment before answering. Honestly, better than I've been in years. No more pretending. No more ignoring the obvious or making excuses for someone else's actions. Heard anything from Sophia? I shook my head. After the jewelry thing, nothing. She's probably found another married man to go after. Just then, another text from Sarah came through. Final paperwork is signed. The house is officially yours. Congrats. You're free. Free, a simple word, but it carried so much weight. You know what's funny? I said, swirling my wine. Daniel always treated me like I was clueless, like I couldn't see what was happening. But I saw everything. I was just waiting for the right time to act. Lisa raised her glass. To seeing clearly. To seeing clearly, I echoed, clinking my glass against hers. That night, after Lisa left, I walked through my house, truly mine now. The cameras had recorded Daniel's betrayal, but they had also captured something else, my strength. I opened my laptop to save the final footage before deleting it, not to relive the pain, but to remember how far I had come. The last clip showed Daniel leaving, his shoulders slumped, his arrogance finally gone. He thought he was writing the end of our story. He didn't realize he was just setting the stage for my new beginning. Then, one final text, an unknown number. "I'm sorry. I know it doesn't matter now, but I'm sorry for everything." I didn't answer. Some messages don't deserve replies. Some apologies come too late to mean anything. Instead, I stepped onto my balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in golds and pinks. The cameras were gone, their job done. They had shown me the truth, and they had helped me move forward. The evening air carried the scent of the flowers I had planted, new life growing where the past had once been. Just like me. Tomorrow would bring new adventures, new possibilities. But tonight, I celebrated my freedom.